John Beaudin from Rock History Book. It seems like I've been live all day doing videos where we just lost some people, and it's just one of those days where it's Call of Duty. You have to get on and do some things. The day the greatest rock album was released, I didn't get into this record till quite a few years after it was released. Before we get going, if you want to support the channel, remember the 2Ps. You can join our Patreon, get early access to our videos, or you can make a donation on PayPal. Buy a t-shirt, there are links in the description. Everything's at the very top of the description if you're interested in helping us out. At the very least, like our video if you like what you see, subscribe to the channel, and share them if you can. It had no title. It would sell 37 million copies worldwide. 37 million. When you think about albums that are in the tree of rock and roll, but let's look at families of albums. They were the 7th biggest selling act in history worldwide. The Beatles were number 1, 600 million sales. Elvis, 500 million. Michael Jackson at 400. Elton John, 300 million. Queen at 300. Madonna at 300. And this band was at 300 as well. Recorded between December 1970 and February 1971, mostly at an old house they thought was haunted. Headley Grange. I think you figured out who this is. The album cover or the banner probably told you who it was. Was it haunted? Well, people love rumors. But it was actually recorded in 2 other places like Island and Sunset Studios. It's been called the most perfect record by many. Some people say it's marketing genius. Some music lovers and critics thought that their first 3 albums was a result of a lot of hoopla. So this one has nothing on it, no label, no album name, no band name. It's just, as you know, Led Zeppelin 4, or Led Zeppelin, or Zoso, or 4 Symbols. People like to call it whatever they want, but it certainly worked. The cover had a picture of an anonymous man with, a very old man, with a bundle of sticks on his back. Well, you gotta have a hobby, I guess. And generic packaging really pissed off the people of the record company, thinking, you know, we've got a band here after Zeppelin 3. We want to come out big, because commercially on some levels it was not as promising as Zeppelin 2 and the debut album. It's like Jimmy Page basically saying the music is too special. It doesn't have a label. It doesn't need a label. It's filled with, oh my God, you felt like you were going back in time listening to this album. It had such a sense of movement to it. Evil, heavenly mythology, mysticism, and a whole bunch more. The 4 sticks idea came from Jimmy Page. They all got a symbol, of course. And the album kicks off with Black Dog. Like the title, you could dumb it down to the title was nicknamed by many say by a Labrador retriever that was wandering around, as Urban Legend says, around Headley Grange. John Paul Jones, who came up with the main riff, was inspired by Muddy Waters' Electric Mud. And it's still a standard, really, for anyone who starts a band. People want to play this song, and there's not a rock station in the world, or a classic rock station, that does not play this song. And they had the 1-2 punch on this album. I mean, they start with Black Dog, and they go right into rock and roll. It's been called simply the most dynamic hard rock song in music. Page says it just came from a jam session. Drummer John Beaudin was starting to do the intro to Little Richard's Keep a Knockin', and Page just kind of stepped in and joined him. The Battle of Evermore, famous for being the only Zeppelin song with a duet, and Sandy Denny on this sounds like she's haunted. And she's had her own fair share of a lot of problems. I mean, she's long gone. Self-harm was a problem. Drinking was a problem. And they went back after she had died and tried to figure out what exactly had happened to her. But one of the most heavenly voices in the history of music. The crown jewel of the album, of course, was Stairway to Heaven. Okay, I know, the most overplayed song in the history of music. But there's also a rumor of backwards masking on it, where there's still time to change the road you're on. You play it backwards, and people, I did it on my record, on my high top of the line, which is still back here, and I heard "Here's to My Sweet Satan," but I'm going, yeah, but it sounds like a computer said it, and it wasn't meant to be there. And of course, the Bible people came a knocking, and Remember Snowblind by Styx had that rumor, and a few other songs that you'll probably mention in the description had the same thing. Misty Mountain Hop. Misty Mountains of J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit. Four Sticks was basically John Bonham playing literally four sticks. It took many takes to get this one right. And one of the most beautiful tunes on the album is Going to California. It was originally called Guide to California. And it was originally about earthquakes in California. And the crescendo bluesy song at the end is When the Levee Breaks. And I love this album. And I still consider it. I mean, I go back and forth between Physical Graffiti and Zeppelin 4 as far as perfect rock albums. As a Catholic boy growing up, you're going to laugh at this, I actually thought when I was young, because I was 11 when it came out, so I hadn't really started seriously collecting music yet. I used to think that something evil was going to happen to you if you listened to Zeppelin 4. Especially Sandy Denny, those vocals kind of scared me at some points. But you know how it goes. Things that scare you also make you move a little backwards sometimes, but also a little forward. I grew up in northeast New Brunswick in a small town called Newcastle, which is now called Miramichi. And when we went to the local arena for concerts, because back then we all went to arenas for concerts, the sort of the small towns, there was on the right side of this arena, Sinclair Rink, which is long burnt down many years ago, there was a person who always played, bar none, Led Zeppelin 4. And I got to really get to know the album by going to a few concerts, my first few concerts, the Stampeders, Abraham's Children, April Wine, and hearing Zeppelin 4 and like falling madly in love with it. In the beginning of the first concert, I'm going, oh no, I'm trapped. I'm in the lineup. I can't get away. That's how naive I was back then as far as, things like that. Everything intrigued me about the album cover, the fact that they all had symbols. Sandy Denny was such a big part. And I ended up trying to study her life, and I did a few features on her life and the sadness of her passing. But it was released on November 8th, 1971. And it was a hit, a big hit after Zeppelin 3, which was more acoustic for the band. They certainly proved themselves as a rock band, and I certainly always call this one of the greatest albums of all time. I appreciate all the folks who check out our videos every single day. This is my 5th live feed today, and I like doing them. This is a little late for us because usually not a lot of people come on this time of the night, but I wanted to do a thing on Zeppelin 4 because I cherish the album. Outside of Stairway to Heaven, I still listen to this album with intrigue. I still listen to it and get a sense of mystery, and I love that in a record, a sense of wanting to come closer, wanting to understand a little bit more, checking out the phrasing of Robert Plant's vocals. Every time he does a version of a Led Zeppelin song when he's playing with Alison Krauss or playing it, I always listen to it, and I know that rocker's still in there. He just doesn't want to do that anymore, and I understand that. I would love for them to get together again, but they'll never do that. As they say down south, that dog won't hunt. I appreciate you indulging me in this. Led Zeppelin 4, released November 8th, 1971. Take good care of yourself. Remember, support the channel. We have Patreon, where you can get updates, and you can get early access to our videos. We have a PayPal link. If you want to make a donation, please do. It's been a tough month, mainly because I had COVID for 2 weeks, and if I don't work, I don't get paid. And buy a t-shirt, like the video, subscribe to the channel. This is all about today in history on this channel. Take good care.